Before the Royal Challengers Bangalore versus Rajasthan Royals match in the Indian Premier League today began, there were certain things that I was completely expecting to see, like, for example, certain patterns enduring for RCB, deficiencies in their batting order, some inconsistencies in the field, some very questionable selection calls when it comes to their starting 11 and just the 11 that they field ultimately in the game. And of course, their bowlers not actually having that bite that is a problem that we've been seeing throughout the season so far. Those patterns quite predictably endured. What I did not expect to see was a centurion. What I did not expect a step beyond that was two centurions, and we got that in a very exciting game in Jaipur, which opens up a lot of discourse online among cricketers, among pundits about what a T20 innings needs to look like, what an approach to T20 cricket needs to look like, what is right, what is wrong, what works, what doesn't. And of course, there is the overarching theme of a T20 World Cup to sort of bookend this entire conversation. So let's break it down bit by bit. We saw Rajasthan Royals winning the toss and Sanju Samson opted to chase, which ultimately ended up being a really great call from him. Faf du Plessis and Virat Kohli opened the innings. They put on a little about 125 runs together. It was a partnership that had its ebbs and flows. There were parts in that partnership where Faf du Plessis looked very tentative, and Virat Kohli had to sort of balance that in terms of how he took the game on. In that mid-innings chat that he had with the broadcasters, he spoke about how the team had spoken about one of the openers trying to attack the bowlers and the other one carrying his bat through the innings, and Virat ended up doing just that. In the process, he scored his 8th IPL century and his 9th in T20 cricket. It also has a little bit of a dubious stat attached to it, in it being the joint slowest century scored in the Indian Premier League. Now, naturally, when there is a conversation about strike rate, it really throws a spanner in the works in terms of any conversation about a cricket match. And sometimes these discourses tend to get a little toxic, especially when people expect batters to bat at a certain pace in T20 cricket, and that is exactly what we're getting to see. There's a lot of dissection happening about Virat Kohli's innings. In his defense, he had an opportunity to talk about it, and he spoke about how the wicket was not as straightforward as it perhaps looked for someone just watching the game from outside. He spoke about how the pace of the pitch was not really consistent, and it took a little bit of effort to really play to the merits of the surface. And that's something that Faf du Plessis spoke about as well after the game finished. He spoke about how the dew setting in the second innings completely helped Rajasthan Royals in a lot of ways to neutralize how difficult that pitch could have been. It did get a lot easier to bat later on, which we saw the way Sanju Samson and Jos Buttler approached their innings with the bat. And what we have in our hands at the end of the night is a 6-wicket win for Rajasthan Royals, with Sanju Samson and Jos Buttler making life look very easy with the willow. When we talk about RCB, certain things that really stood out to me almost singularly have to do with the kind of combinations that they're fielding. When you know Mahipal Lomror is doing really well, when you know that he's been able to strike 30-odd runs out of 13, 14 balls, why wouldn't you field him to come and complement Virat Kohli if Kohli is playing that anchor role? In this game, we saw RCB give Saurav Chauhan a shot. There's nothing wrong in blooding different kinds of batters into your playing 11, but when you know that you're trying to find a combination that works, especially when those experiments are not really getting you victories, and all of these losses will sort of pile up together and then come to bite you later on in the tournament, this was a little bit of a puzzling call from RCB, in my opinion. The other thing that I really didn't understand is, why wouldn't you field Vishak Vijaykumar? The fact that he's not gotten a game, despite being impressive against Kolkata Knight Riders, was something that really left me befuddled in the previous game, and that confusion continues even in this match. It's almost obvious to see that the discourse will be dominated by Virat Kohli and this innings, although I hope that's not the case for RCB's sake, because there's a lot more happening with their campaign that they might want to check. In the larger scheme of things, Virat Kohli's sort of slow strike rate perhaps might not be their biggest headache at the moment. If the rest of the team can pull its weight, then this might be something that can cancel itself out, or even give Virat Kohli a reason to score at a faster pace. There is a larger conversation about his weakness against spin, which is something we've been seeing over the last couple of years, which we should be addressing. This will be a very important conversation for India to have as well when it tries to figure out its combination for the T20 World Cup. But these are conversations that will continue throughout the course of the Indian Premier League until we have that squad in hand, which will be heading to the USA and West Indies for the World Cup. But Coming back to the IPL, what this match immediately does is have an impact on the points table. We see Rajasthan Royals maintaining that spot on top of the table with this win with a very, very healthy net run rate. Royal Challengers Bangalore find itself in the bottom of the table with DC and MI below it. Not a great space to be, and they'll need to figure out how they can get out of that funk that they're in and really make their way up the table if they want this campaign to have a fruitful ending. Now, with so much of action happening on Saturday, there is double the amount happening on Sunday. We have MI and DC, the bottom place teams, taking on each other in the first match of the day, and then LSG and Gujarat Titans, the relative youngsters in the Indian Premier League, taking each other on in Lucknow in the second game. You can follow all of the updates, not just from these two games, but from the entire Indian Premier League on the Sportstar website. We hope you like this video. Please join us for the next one.